It is now official. Over the past 2 months, more than 500 million Indians have cast their vote in the world's largest electoral process, with the overwhelming majority choosing Narendra Modi of the BJP to be their next Prime Minister. Now, while exit polls had suggested a BJP win, no one had quite anticipated the magnitude of this victory. In fact, it's the first time post-independence that a non-Congress party has won a mandate to rule with coalition. Now, together with their allies, they make up more than 2/3 of the new parliament. So, is this the end of the Ghandi dynasty, and what impact will this dramatic verdict have on the country? Well, joining us now to answer just that is journalist Anindita Chatterjee, who's been covering the Indian elections for radio and print publications in the UAE. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks for coming back on. So fascinating, isn't it? Really a landslide victory, as we said. What, 336 seats, really more than 2/3. There was such a feeling, and I guess it was all about development, all about change, very much anti-Congress. What does this mean for the country?
I have been glued to the television, that's all I can say. Ever since these results started trickling in, it's been a landslide victory. The entire political landscape of India is going to change, or should I say, is now standing at that crossroad. It's been outright majority, as you said. Since 1984, it's been 3 decades, Katie. No single party has won this sort of majority, which is phenomenal. I mean, there have been governments, they have been formed by coalition where you have to borrow, beg and steal some votes and some seats and then, form a government. But this has been the first time in 30 years, since 1984, as I mentioned, that BJP has come to power as a single party. Exit polls and a lot of media houses suggested, even 2 weeks back, 3 weeks back, that BJP will take a lead, but we'll have to sort of, clamor last minute for those seats. But look at this. Nobody sort of assessed this sort of, landslide victory. It's been the most decisive mandate, Katie, if I can say, most decisive for India. 66.5% Indians came out to vote out of the 814 million sort of eligible voters. Out of that, as you mentioned, 2/3 voted for BJP or Narendra Modi. What does that say? That says that India wants a change, and India has voted for BJP and India has voted for Narendra Modi. The country has been really suffering because of the currency crisis, slow growth and development. There's been a policy paralysis. Congress has been seen as a weak government. So India was standing at that place where people wanted to go out, exercise their political will and really bring about a change. And I think this has finally, Indians have come out, put a vote of stamp on BJP, and here we have a new Prime Minister in a couple of days. He's now the Prime Minister-elect, and a new government.
So you really feel that such of a landslide victory was really driven by India's need, by their want for change in general, is what you'd say?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, this government promised, and Narendra Modi was also always the Chief Minister of Gujarat for many, many years. He's actually proven to people that he can actually turn around a state. He's known to be pro-business. He's proven the Gujarat, it's known as the Gujarat model. And he's actually proven to people that, look, I can do this with the state. So if I can do this with the state, I promise you I can do this with the country. So he has a strong track record. And what happens in these cases, if you don't prove a strong track record, people are not going to come out and vote for you. I mean, we're not foolish. We know who we're voting for and why. The new government is promising a lot of things, and he's seen as a leader who is very decisive, very articulate, very sort of, fast tracks things, doesn't let, things procrastinate. So he's known as that sort of leader who hits the ground running and brings about a change.
He's such a polarizing figure, though, isn't he? If you look at him, he certainly knows what he's won. He's a very decisive person. I mean, if you look at him, he's someone who has refused a visa to the US, and you see foreign investors flocking to his summits, to his conferences as well. He's someone who's certainly a strong Hindu, a nationalist as well. What have we seen from the international reaction? Because he's a controversial figure.
Katie, there's a saying in politics, there are no permanent friends and no permanent enemies, and I think it is so true for Narendra Modi. Till about a couple of years, US just refused to give him a visa because of certain allegations against him in the Gujarat riots. But everything changed yesterday. President Barack Obama phoned him, has invited him to a US. Of course, if you invite somebody, you have to provide a visa. So that's underway. Lots of other prime ministers, Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott, UK Prime Minister David Cameron, neighbours, Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has extended a warm welcome, congratulated him, asked him, invited him over. So things change, and I think now people and leaders across the world will want to work with him towards a better India, towards better bilateral relations. So yes, he has been seen as a hardliner. There's no denying that he has extremely strong beliefs about how the foreign policy should pan out. He has very strong reactions to Pakistan or China, the neighbors. But at the same time, he's promised inclusive growth. He said the country India does not belong to any religion, and he is going, I feel that although there's been this whole lot of talk about being hardliner, about not being in favor of minority, I think he will be the leader who will bring about good. I mean, he will keep in mind the greater common good, and I think that's what is needed for India.
In terms of bringing this common good to India, I mean, he's promised a lot of change. Sure. As I said, this extra election rather was really about development, about change, about that very much anti-Congress feeling as well. Now, he's promised immediate change.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see that? And what kind of immediate changes do you think we'll see?
Huge economic reforms in the next couple of weeks. And he's very quick in these things. He doesn't sort of sit on files very long. Very, very big, major economic reforms. He's going to cut red tape. Apparently in Gujarat, there's hardly any red tape.
Do you think that's easier said than done, though? I mean, I think, without being rude, I think India is known for its red tape.
I mean, yeah, you can say that, it's different to do it in a state as opposed to a country of 1 billion. But of course, if you've done it in a state, you know how to do it. So of course, it might be hard, but he's promised, that's the mandate. He's going to cut red tape, he says. He's going to make sure that there are fast-track clearances. So if you want to bring in a business to India, it's going to be quicker. There are a lot, I was reading various reports, there are so many, foreign investors who want to invest, but they often just give up midway because there are just so many clearances, there are these forms to fill, and there are those people to meet. And I think halfway they just hit fatigue and want to go back home.
That's the thing, and hopefully we do see those changes. But I mean, speaking of some of those clearings, speaking of some of those changes that are needed, it's interesting when you look at one of the smaller parties, this sort of anti-graft drive, I think from the AAP, they didn't do so well. But it was the first time really an independent party had been involved in politics. They didn't get a lot of votes at the national level, but what does it say for India that their politics, that their elections are really changing?
Aam Aadmi Party, that's the anti-graft party. Now, if you say Aam Aadmi, the word Aam Aadmi means common man, which means these common people were like you and me who wanted a change, who just got up out of our living rooms, out of our jobs, regular jobs, and wanted to bring about a change. But often, Katie, you can have great ideologies for your country, but that might not translate to great governance. These people were all sort of political amateurs who planned things, who had great social media campaigns, who were in every television studios, but they didn't really have the experience and they did not get any votes. That's the thing,
and I think they certainly have seen massive change. Well done to them. Look, unfortunately, we're out of time. There's so much to discuss, but thank you for coming in. Really appreciate your time.